enough of that toe crunching stuff. We'll call the meeting to order. Is there any additions to the agenda? Go ahead, Colin.
Good morning, Council. So we do have a couple items to add to today's agenda. Under 5A, we have a delegation, Sim Lab, and that will take place at 10 o'clock, and there are some presentation slides attached. Under 12, General Matters, under 12A, we have the ACCPA Conference Report provided by Councillor Brooks, and under 12B, the new renewal system brought forward by Councillor Wiltsey. Under 21, we have the Brazeau Foundation report included by Councillor Brooks, as well as 22, the Recreation Board report brought forward by Councillor Brooks, and 36, closed sessions scheduled at 9:15 this morning for C Personnel CAO contract under FOIP Section 19.
Anybody else? Okay, so nothing else? Motion then to approve the agenda with the amendments. Dallas,
I'll move to adopt the agenda with the amendments.
discussion. All those in favor? Kara, how do you vote? I thought I'd add one extra because I missed a couple last time. Okay, adoption of the minutes, pages 10 to 20. Any errors or omissions, Anthony?
On page 20, there was a word missing under the motion 302, moved by A. Heinrich to ratify, should be in there.
All right, anything else? I told you you'd catch that one, Tina. Yeah. All right. Motion to approve the minutes with the adjustment. Anybody? Anthony?
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Okay, follow-up action list, anything we need to be aware of there, Colin, that's?
So yes, as mentioned on the follow-up action list, administration will be bringing forward 2 items to today's agenda. Administration to investigate zoning of the lots and to obtain a legal opinion regarding Hilltop Acres, and administration to communicate with the Cynthia residents regarding the current land use and suggested changes to zoning, and to look into working with interested investors. So those 2 items will be coming forward from the follow-up action list.
Alrighty. Motion to receive the follow-up action list as presented. Donna?
I move to receive the action follow-up list as amended,
As presented.
as presented.
Discussion, all those in favor? Carried unanimous. Procedural bylaw, request for council decision, pages 21 to 38.
Yes, so at the May 9th, 2024 regular council meeting, first and second readings were given to bylaw 1184-24, the procedural bylaw. Administration has brought forward the draft bylaw for third and final reading, and it can be found beginning on pages 22 of your agenda.
All right, there were some concerns about whether we should take a little more time on this or not at last meeting. What's your thoughts now, folks? Anthony?
Prior to move third reading,
Okay, if there's no other discussion, go ahead.
I move third reading to bylaw 1184-24.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Okay, how's our time? We're moving along quickly here. 10 a.m. I guess we're on to planning and development already here. And I believe these next 2 are in regards to some work my daughter and I are working on. I'll have to step aside. Anthony, you'll have to take the chair. I'm just gonna leave the room and I'm gonna sit as a spectator in case there's any questions.
Okay, if administration's ready, go ahead and present it.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. Rezoning application 24A-005, located on pages 40 through 52 of the agenda package, has been submitted to rezone approximately 5.4 acres from agricultural to agricultural holdings within southeast 149-9 west of the 5th Meridian, which would allow for the subdivision of an equally sized parcel. A public hearing has been scheduled for this bylaw for June 18th, 2024 at 10 a.m. As shown on land location map on page 42, the subject lands are located north of the undeveloped road allowance for Township Road 490, from which all parcels are proposed to have access, and east of Range Road 91. The proposed rezoning is consistent with Brazeau County's municipal development plan, and the lands do not fall within any intermunicipal development plan or area structure plan. That analysis is reflected in appendices E and F on pages 48 through 52. So it is the recommendation that first reading be given to bylaw 1180-24 for the rezoning of approximately 5.4 acres from agricultural to agricultural holdings within southeast 149-9 west of the 5th Meridian. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions, Council? Glenn?
Do we know what the purpose of this zoning would be for? There's no road access to this property from the county. It's swampland and it's got lots of dugouts around it.
Through the chair to
It's
council.
kind of just land in the middle of nowhere, so that's what I'm asking, I guess. What was the intention, I guess, of putting something out here?
Through the chair to Councillor Gunderson. To my knowledge, it's just to create that smaller agricultural holdings parcel. However, I would have to defer to the applicant in terms of the purpose of the creation of the lot. And just in terms of the road access, that is something that will become a condition, a consideration for the subdivision portion, and may form a condition of that subdivision if it proceeds through second and third reading for rezoning, to go then to the Municipal Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Not, someone prepared to make a motion? Dallas?
I move that Brazeau County Council give first reading to bylaw 1180-24, proposing a portion of southeast of 149-9 west of the 5th Meridian, approximately plus or minus 5.4 acres, plus or minus 2.19 hectares, be rezoned from agricultural to agricultural holdings, as shown in the attached Schedule A.
Any discussion on that motion? Not, those in favor? Those opposed? One, Glenn? Carried. I guess the next item then, we can go on to that one.
Thank you.
So,
Rezoning.
It also has probably the same conflict, I guess. Okay, just wanted to make sure it's noted. Okay, if you go ahead, please, administration.
Rezoning application 24A-006, located on pages 53 through 66 of the agenda package, has been submitted to rezone approximately 6.32 acres from agricultural to agricultural holdings within northeast 3649-9 west of the 5th Meridian, which would allow the subdivision of an equally sized parcel. A public hearing for this bylaw has been scheduled for June 18th, 2024 at 10:15 a.m. The subject lands are located northwest of the termination point of Range Road 90, from which the parcel currently has access, and immediately south of undeveloped road allowance Township Road 490, which is the proposed point of access for the proposed lot, and that is shown on page 55 on the land location map. The proposed rezoning is consistent with Brazeau County's municipal development plan, and the lands do not fall within any intermunicipal development plan area or an area structure plan. That's reflected in appendices A, or E and F on pages 62 through 66. So it is the recommendation of administration that first reading be given to 1181-24 for the rezoning of approximately 6.32 acres from agricultural to agricultural holdings within northeast 3649, or 48.9 west of the 5th meridian. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? Glenn?
I have the same question. We're gonna put another parcel out here, possibly for housing, with no road access. And then a bunch of, like I said, what could be swampland out there, it looks like. So I'm against this again.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Not some prepared to make a motion? Donna?
I move that council give first reading to bylaw 1181-24, proposing a portion of northeast 3648.9 west of the 5th be rezoned from agriculture to agricultural holdings as shown on the attached Schedule A.
Thank you, Donna. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not. Those in favor? Those opposed? Glenn? Carried. Okay, Art, you're returning?
Alrighty. Municipal reserve designation changes or removal. There's a whole history there of what's gone on. Colin?
Oh, sorry, just wanted to highlight the time being 9/11 with council's scheduled closed session taking place at 9:15.
Okay, well, let's see what we can get done in 5 minutes. All the information has been there before us there for the last week or so in regards to reserve allocations and how they can be used. But take it away.
Council. Yes, so this is coming out of the April 2nd council meeting where council directed administration to look at possible options for municipal reserve. We've provided two different pieces of information, one being what can happen on reserve land, and there's 4 items that the Municipal Government Act outlines for municipal reserve. So a public park, a public recreational area, school board purposes, or to separate areas of land of different uses used for different purposes, sorry. And that's on page 67. However, based on the discussion, we also added in if you wanted to change the purpose of a land and then remove the MR designation, if that was to be required, what would the steps be? So in 2020, the rules changed, streamlining the process a little bit more. And the process to remove an MR or municipal reserve designation is through a council resolution after a public hearing has been completed. It does not compel the sale or the lease of a property. It just opens up for greater flexibility use of that property. So it doesn't have to be tied to something else. Advertisement must happen for 2 consecutive weeks within a local newspaper. Notification must be mailed to landowners in the area and posted on the county website, along with potentially social media accounts, as public hearings are generally advertised. However, the difference here is that an MR designation change does require a sign to be posted on the property, providing notice that municipal reserve land is subject to a public hearing. So after receiving public input through the public hearing process, council then would decide about the designation of municipal reserve through resolution. If it was determined that the municipal reserve designation should be removed, a designated officer of the county would notify Alberta Land Title Register and request that removal. They would ensure that we have met all the requirements under the Municipal Government Act and then would issue a new title, which would no longer reflect the municipal reserve designation. Just as a side note, with that designation removed, it may also require a rezoning of the parcel to change the purpose or use of the land, depending what the municipal reserve was actually zoned within our land use bylaw. And then just in the appendix is basically the actual Municipal Government Act legislation that I've summarized in the report and summarized here in the presentation.
Any questions? Glenn?
Thank you. So the intent was for a land swap, and from what I'm gathering here, that's not an option then? It wouldn't be for being able to take one piece of property and offering it for another?
So through the chair to Councillor Gunderson, what could occur is that we could go through the whole process to remove the municipal reserve designation from one parcel, and if that was then sold, that money would go into our municipal reserve funds, and we could purchase another one and put an MR designation on that.
Yeah.
There is potential to that, but just a switchity swap, there are steps and processes that need to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Good compilation of all the results. It did say in there that we could sell it as long as the cash is used for a similar purpose.
Yeah.
Right, so, all right, so motion to just receive this for information. Glenn,
I move to receive the report for information.
discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. All right, we have to go into closed, I believe, at 9:15 here. Somewhere on the agenda it says that for, go ahead, Anthony.
To enclosed for personnel, CAO contract, FOIP section 19.
Now, is this the item you put on, Anthony?
No,
Okay,
it's on our agenda here.
Okay.
Additions.
all right.
Additions.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Got to take a short break? No, just, I'm talking to the public right now, just to deal with this in closed. Go ahead, that's what we need. Go ahead, Anthony.
I move to receive the CAO discussion for information.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Okay. Hamlet of Cynthia, I believe. Oh, we've got the presentation first. All right. It's a good thing somebody's paying attention. Come on down, Carol. Even though I know who you are, you have to state your name for the record.
Good morning, Reeve, Guillaume, and council. I'm Carol Volk. I'm the chair of the Drayton Valley Health Services Foundation here in Drayton Valley. And just so you know, I have with me this morning, I have Brianna Effort. She's our vice chair of the foundation, and Pam Baker. She's also one of the directors on the foundation.
Welcome.
I want to thank you for giving you time today to hear a presentation on the upcoming initiative by the Drayton Valley Health Foundation in coordination with the Drayton Valley Hospital Auxiliary, working in partnership with Alberta Health Services, or AHS. So before we begin this presentation today, I'd like to give you a brief overview of why we are here today and why we're presenting to council. The DV Health Foundation has been influential in the establishment of our current hospital in our community and has continued to support the procurement and enhancement for equipment for this hospital. Although we are guided by the needs of the hospital through AHS, we are a separate organization comprised of a volunteer board of directors. The Drayton Valley Hospital serves a broad area, including the town of Drayton Valley, Breton, and Brazeau County. We are hoping Brazeau County Council would be interested in taking on a more active role in supporting the foundation by supporting with a representative on our board. As many volunteer organizations, the ability to attract and retain volunteers is becoming harder and harder and more challenging. If anybody's interested, we have our upcoming AGM on June 18th at 5 o'clock at the Pemina Room at the DV Hospital. We certainly would like to see some type of council representation there. The Drayton Valley Health Foundation's mission is to manage and distribute funds for initiatives that support high-quality health care. Through our community's generosity, the foundation has raised millions of dollars towards the addition of equipment and the enhancement of services for our health complex, as well as Breton's health complex as well. Everything from chairs for giving blood to blanket warmers to keep our patients warm, to the STARS helipad and the CT scanner. These were all done by community dollars. We have recently signed off on the plans to finally complete the palliative care renovation project in the hospital, and we're anticipating construction on that to start in June of this year. With that ship finally sailing, we are excited to support this next initiative in partnership with AHS. The demand for healthcare workers across our community, province, and country continues to increase, and we all try to attract and retain healthcare workers from the same pool of resources. And it's important that we look for alternative sources. I'd like to commend the town of Drayton Valley on bringing the Grow Your Own RN program to our community. And by offering educational supports and opportunities close to home, we can encourage those students to remain in our community once they have completed their programs. In conjunction with the RN program, we are excited to be able to introduce our next initiative, which is the Sim Lab. The Sim Lab will provide the resources for our healthcare students and current healthcare workers to practice and refine their skills in a real-life simulation environment. The role of Foundation will be to raise the required funding to transform the now obsolete records room in the hospital, a space that will soon be empty, into a training center for not only the students enrolled in the RN program, but also a place for continuing education for healthcare-related individuals and groups in our community. We are looking for the support of Brazeau County, the town of Drayton Valley, and our community to bring this great learning facility to our community. And we can achieve these great things if we all work together. I'd like to introduce, Carolyn Trumper. Carolyn is the Executive Director with AHS, and it's her her team to give you an overview of what the SIM project is and to provide you with some information on how this all comes together. And we'll be taking questions after the SIM presentation. So, Carolyn, are you online? Oh, my goodness. Do I have to do Phil?
I don't see Carolyn online, but certainly would be happy to just give the presentation if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much, Dr. Grant.
Perfect. So just to introduce, well, thank you first for inviting us to your meeting this morning to present, I think, this essential and opportunistic training opportunity for the, the town of Drayton Valley, Brazeau County, but even beyond. That was a beautiful introduction, by the way, and simulation is something that has been evolving in our province over the past 15 or 20 years as we've built our capacity. And a large part of what we've done in the last little while is really to expand our ability to offer rural simulation education. That's really done in two ways. One is it's making sure we have simulation specialists, we call them simulation consultants in AHS, coming from various professional backgrounds distributed across the province in order to help support, the areas that a regional center might otherwise help with. So in the history of Drayton Valley, that might have come from Central Zone through Red Deer, it may have come from Edmonton. But what we're noticing is that there's a real appetite in those rural communities to start to develop their own capacity. And so in partnership with both the University of Calgary Faculty of Nursing and the Grow Your Own Nursing program, as well as this partnership with Central Zone Leadership, there's been a real appetite to start to grow these, what we call rural simulation satellite centers. And we're very fortunate to partner with the University of Calgary because they can bring equipment to start to house the education facility. We've had a great success of working with local foundations, such as the Drayton Valley Foundation, which we are just so happy to partner with in terms of the construction. And then we help to essentially run the long-term operations and help to provide support at the provincial level to make sure that the educators locally that are teaching or educators that we bring in are well tuned in the kind of art of simulation-based education. So for those of you that aren't too sure what simulation is, if you're in any kind of a band or if you dance or if you like to swing a golf club, you all know the value of practice. And, nothing really makes our skills better at the bedside than to do that. I'm a practicing emergency physician that works at the Alberta Children's Hospital in Calgary. I've been doing that for 20 plus years. And I can tell you that even to keep my skills at their current level and to learn new things and to hone what I already do, we practice simulation regularly and make it a regular part of the way we practice. So what's really neat about this opportunity in Drayton Valley is not only to build a center that can start to help train undergraduate students, be they nursing, potentially medical students that might be coming from the University of Alberta and beyond, but now we can leverage this into also using these facilities to train our current teams working at the Drayton Valley. And we think this has not only quality and safety implications in terms of having a competent and confident workforce going forward. We saw this, during our preparedness for COVID and working with rural sites to make sure that those practitioners were ready to receive, sick COVID patients and how to intubate them, insert breathing tubes as an example, in a way that was safe, both for them and for the patient. And right through to anything new that happens at site. And I think that simulation provides that unique opportunity to work together on your individual skills, your team skills, and also to test things at the system level, just to make sure that the environments that we're working with, in this case, Drayton Valley, we work out all the latent safety threats before they occur. So that becomes, I think, a really important part of the journey. And so having this ability to train all comers, and we think at a real retention and recruitment benefit, I think greatly benefit the community. So again, we're really happy to work with partners on this. Who's controlling the slides, may I ask? So we can advance. So Dr. Heather Bensler is kind of the lead at the University of Calgary that's helping to grow the Grow Your Own nursing program in Alberta. They've got a few sites on board, the first of which was Wainwright in the eastern part of Central Zone, which again is a great partnership that we are going to leverage into, the kind of quality education of health professionals in that eastern side of the province. And then now we're endeavoring to do Drayton Valley. And so that's an exciting opportunity for us to, again, further not only the development of rural care providers, but like I said earlier, and a chance to retain them. I've kind of already spoken to this slide, so I think we can advance in the interest of time. So just a little bit about what comprises a rural program. You can see several icons on the slide here. One is space. So I think it's working with local communities, such as Drayton Valley, to identify potential space that might be used. We've had partnerships with towns, counties, and hospitals before. We have a very successful partnership in Sundre that's allowed for a little bit of a satellite hub to be built in the community of Sundre for the southwestern part of the Central Zone. And here we're looking at something in the northwestern kind of section of the Central Zone. So the space has been identified, as has been mentioned, and working with the foundation to potentially raise some funds to help to outfit that space properly. The equipment that the University of Calgary has committed in terms of the Grow Your Own nursing program. And then as we go forward, the eSIM program, which is the provincial simulation program of health services, is here to help support, on an ongoing basis beyond just the 3 to 5 years that the Grow Your Own nursing program will be training nurses in your environment. We have personnel. We have simulation trained personnel across the province that will help to support, local educators that will hopefully use simulation as one of their teaching tools. We have a rural curriculum that we have been developing and continue to develop in terms of supporting the needs of our rural care practitioners who have identified what they feel are the needs to us. And then we work with program evaluation, and we will be happy to report, use of the facility, the impact of the facility, even at a local level, and that's just good stewardship, both to our partners at the hospital, at the foundation, and then, to the government levels that support this work. Next slide. So in consultation with the Central Zone leadership, we developed a bit of a blueprint for what it might look like to support rural care and the environment. I've talked to you a bit about the Southwest Corner and the program that we've already established in Sundre. We're here to talk about, establishing a supportive hub for surrounding communities in Drayton Valley. And you can see here the lab I talked about in Wainwright and its development, and then the future plan potentially to develop a satellite site in both Drumheller and in Wetaskiwin. Of course, this is all supported by this provincial program, which has simulation experts located in Red Deer and Edmonton, Calgary, and beyond. And so we really see this as an amazing partnership to really meet the needs of all rural providers that work within the Central Zone. And so, like I said, have been really excited to work on these opportunities with both Carolyn and leadership in the Central Zone as well as these local hospitals and foundations. Next slide. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the baton over to my colleague Ken Brisbane, who will walk you through a little bit about what we want to do with this old record space, and then I'm sure we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have at the end.
Thank you very much, Vince. First of all, thank you very much again for inviting us to the council meeting. My name is Ken Brisbane. I'm one of the leads for the provincial program, and my general direction is looking after planning, under which falls sim centers. So this will actually be one of approximately 15 simulation centers that we have currently across the province. The majority of them are in the acute care sites in the cities, but as Vince said earlier, we're branching out and we're seeing the opportunities for these spaces to be utilized for better purposes. That being said, when we looked at Drayton Valley, there was almost an ideal space that came up for this, and it was the old health information management. So it's basically a records room full of paper charts that are all being transitioned to electronic healthcare records, plus the office that kind of supported that. So with this space, as you can see in the upper left corner there, it's right at the front entrance of the hospital. So we couldn't ask for a better space as far as one, access for both internal and external folks using the center. And secondly, is a kind of like a marquee location. As soon as people walk in, they'll see that training and professional practice is important at the hospital. So that said, looking at the space, as we've done the conversion on the left, you'll see we've converted the old office into a sim room, capable of having 2 patient beds in there with a fully enclosed control room so that you can basically manipulate the environment from within a closed space. We've even added a mock patient bathroom in there so we can practice things like falls or slips or anything that they might have to do inside a patient bathroom. But it's an unused space, so it's safe and clean all the time. Next to that, we have a storage area. With simulation comes equipment. It comes simulation equipment and clinical equipment along with that. So one of the important things to have is enough storage so that the sim room isn't also the storage room. And then lastly, we have a debrief room in here, capable of about 6 to 8 people. So when you're done your session, you have the ability to go into a separate room and discuss in a safe environment what happened during that simulation. We have audio visual capabilities between all of these rooms. So you have the ability to observe, control from within the facility, and also the ability to observe via live stream. So if we want to bring in experts from afar, so whether it be one of the major sites where we can bring in subject matter experts, we have the capability of doing that, both on a live streaming basis and on a two-way basis. They can actually participate in the simulation remotely. Cost of this has been anywhere, it's difficult to give a really close estimate on this because every space is a little bit different, and capital planning hasn't had the ability to go out and actually do a on-site visit yet. But previous centers that we've done that are approximately this size and this complexity have been between about $300,000 and $500,000. I realize that's pretty wide breadth that I'm giving in there, but it's challenging to do that without the on-site estimate yet, just off of kind of a paper test fit on this. But that is coming shortly as our capital planning group gets out there. And that's the site that we're looking at. Can we go to the next slide? Vince, do you want to take it back over with community benefits?
Sure, Ken. Thanks for that. I think one of the things that needs to be just highlighted is that this facility will also be open to groups, external from the hospital who are involved in health training, who will benefit from this training lab in the community. So we're talking about first responders like RCMP and EMS, and even community groups that may want to teach, for like advanced first aid courses, basic life support courses, CPR training, and all that sort of thing. So we really see this as a benefit, not only kind of, directly to the community through the access to, well-trained, competent, and confident health providers, but also as an ability to enhance the health of the community in general. And so we really get excited about these partnerships. We really get excited about working with the local the local towns and the counties that support them. And so, like I said from the onset, we are really excited to be here today to talk to you about this project. I think that might be the last slide. Yeah. So, Ken and I are very happy to, answer any questions you might have about this facility on behalf of Carolyn and Heather and the others that are partners in this project. And just thank you for giving us time at your meeting today to talk about this, I think, exciting program. And we're happy to get the ball rolling.
Here for your presentation.
All right, thank you for your presentation and what you guys are trying to achieve. Is there any questions from councillors? Anthony.
Thank you for your presentation, everyone. When you're looking at a request from us now, what is the real, besides perhaps some attendance on your committee, what else are you really looking for Brazeau County in terms of support or other needs?
I think mainly it's not a monetary request, Anthony. It is a request of support from the county. The town is already promised their support. I did a presentation to the town of Drayton Valley last week or a couple weeks ago. Because it works in conjunction, this is a great opportunity for our hospital to do something different. This is a space that is not going to be utilized. So the foundation will be doing the fundraising for that. That money will be coming from the community. So with the foundation working with the support of Brazeau County and the town of Drayton Valley and our community, we can raise the money quickly and put that into our hospital. This will be an opportunity to work in conjunction, like I said, with the RN program that they're doing in Wainwright, which is an excellent program to to educate our RNs in the community. So hopefully they remain in the community and stay here. So this facility will work in conjunction with the RN program. It also will be able to, we also be able to utilize it to, upgrade some skills from a doctor if he's in emergency and he says, I think I'd like to go over and, just practice that suturing with, with a nurse, and they can just whip down to there. That's why we decided to locate it in the hospital and not outside of the hospital, so that they could just go down there, practice some skills. We'll also be able to use this facility for, like you said, other community groups. So EMS or other groups that would like to book the facility. They can utilize it to practice and upgrade their skills. So what I'm really looking for from Brazeau County is our foundation, just like every organization, volunteer organization out there right now, is struggling for volunteers and directors and people to sit on the board and to make this go forward. The foundation has been very instrumental in raising funds for our community, and especially for our hospital. There's a lot of things at that hospital that people don't understand have come from community-raised funds. I know that it's AHS's responsibility to provide us for a hospital, but on the most part, most of the equipment in there has come from our community that we've raised funds for. So next time you're in there, look around. When you're going to, do some blood work, look at the chair. Those chairs were provided from the foundation. So we do fundraising to do that, but that's all volunteers. So we need support. We need the community to get together and support, because that hospital serves Drayton Valley, it serves Brazeau County, it serves Breton, it serves a broad area. And I know that Kara sits on the PPRRC. I sit on that board as well. It's a really an important piece to attract physicians and healthcare workers to our community. But this is a really great way to make our Drayton Valley a educational hub. To once the RN program's done, perhaps we can go into an LPN program or some other, healthcare related program, and just kind of continue that path and make us into a special place. Maybe this is where everybody comes to take their RN program from rural communities. I think it's a great opportunity. We're taking two things. We're taking the RN, the Grow Your RN program that has been walked out first in Wainwright, and we're the second ones to take that into a rural area. And we're taking the sim lab that was done in Sundre. They did theirs externally, but that was kind of a first one, other than the major communities, like major cities that have the sim lab. We're the next rural place. So we're taking two things, putting them together and making an awesome, awesome opportunity for our county and for our towns. So I'd like to see it go forward, but really, Anthony, what I'm looking for is just support when you're out there talk to business people, say, you know what, we're going to be, as the foundation, we're going to be rolling that fundraising program out here shortly. We wanted to get the palliative care project done. We've been struggling with that one for a number of years for various reasons. And now that one is done and complete, we are moving forward onto the next project. And so we just really need the community to support us.
Glenn?
I've seen this presentation once before, but you said $350,000 for the retrofit for those rooms then? That's a lot of money. I hope we can help in some way. Also, as far as joining the board, it'd be nice to have something in writing, a letter requesting that. That would make it a little easier to do that. Just on the question on the simulator, I see that when you look online, a lot of it's going to VR. And I've seen some of the demos of it, and I see real benefit to that when you can have scenarios, you can have your room totally the same as you would have it in an operating room and get into that scenario. You're not just limited to one type of will there be any thought put towards implementing that part of it?
I can take that one first, Vince, if you have any, and if Vince, you have anything to add. So the way a simulation lab works, it kind of works in concentric circles, right? So the first kind of bit of that circle is the sim lab itself, right? So in this case, the sim lab is going to replicate kind of a generic patient room for that with a bathroom. But those simulators are portable now. So what we have the ability to do is, now that we have the lab, we have the place to store it, we have the place to kind of hub it, for lack of a better term, we can move out to what's called in situ or in situ simulation. So we can actually take that simulator, and if we want to run an operating room scenario, we actually move the simulator and some of that AV equipment over there, so we can run that where the situation would take place. And there's a lot of benefits to do that, because where we look for process issues, we look for tweaking points in there, it actually works out better in that environment, because we can figure out equipment that maybe wasn't in the right place, or a process that didn't have the most efficiency to it. But then beyond that, the ability to go off site is also there. So now that we have the resources on site in the center, we can actually move off the site and bring it to the community for that through the other resources that we have through eSIM. And it's not having to bring that equipment from one of the major sites in Edmonton or Red Deer or Calgary. Now the equipment's closer located to where we're actually going to be using it. So that, as Vince mentioned, bring it out to the communities. We can bring the community in, but we can also bring the technology and the techniques out a little bit in there. And all, if you have anything to add with that, Vince, I hope that answered your question.
All I would add in terms of the question around the virtual reality piece is it's something we're evaluating on a provincial level. Ken and I have looked at a number of possibilities for our training of our healthcare professionals across the province. The upside of VR is you can do exactly what you mentioned. You can recreate the same space. You can practice within it. It can be really good for clinical decision making. It can be really good for potentially some procedural skills. The downside of VR is there's no haptic feedback and there's no ability to work with teams. So we're evaluating in a way where it's additive to our program and see where people might be able to benefit from it. So I would say that users in Drayton Valley over time will also, like every other facility across Alberta, will be able to kind of benefit from this training once we figure out what the best way to roll it out is. The thing with virtual reality is the hardware is actually inexpensive. It's the software that becomes really expensive. And so we're even evaluating ways that we might be able to leverage our relationships with other post-secondary institutions in the province to see what we can do to enhance VR. But I could tell you, I have used it. I think for clinicians, for some of the clinical decision making, it can be a really valuable tool on your own. But what it won't replicate is working with your team of providers in your environment. And I think that's where the balance of mannequin-based simulation that happens on site, like Ken said, that happens in this lab, that happens in your ER, that happens in the OR, wherever we decide training is the best place to take place. I don't think we're going to replicate that just yet. There will be a time when virtual reality becomes multiplayer and you might be able to do some team training in that environment. But for the moment, I think we're kind of evaluating VR and AR and all the different forms of mixed reality and seeing where it fits best, but try how to marry that with traditional mannequin-based simulation, which has been the gold standard for training teams and environments in healthcare environments. Hope that answers your question.
I've got to stand on my soapbox here a little bit, but you know, healthcare has got its role, education has got its role, and municipality are tasked with a massive role of providing the infrastructure needs for municipalities who are responsible for water, wastewater, waste management, and roads, and some other subtle services. And we know that we have an infrastructure deficit, probably close to $1 billion over the next 20 years of things that have to be done. I'm not saying that we can't support, because I can see this fitting into economic development, and maybe there's a way to do that. But is there something that the province should be doing more so? I always think that municipalities are always downloaded on as if they have no work to do themselves. Is there something we can do? Because we have become effective, I would suggest, over the last number of years, and with Kara, as has been mentioned, to be the vice president of the RMA, gives us kind of connections to other levels of government that, you know, I think should be playing a bigger role, if I would suggest anything. So is there anything the province should be doing here? I mean, to me, I think this should be fully funded by the province, because it's focusing on prevention is what it's really doing.
I can speak a little bit to that.
Sure, thanks, Carol.
I'll let you off there. I'll let you off there,
There's a
guys.
dead spot there.
Right. So this program actually is working in conjunction with 3 levels. So the U of C is supplying all of the equipment for that sim lab. So they'll be supplying the mannequins and the tables and the electronic equipment and that type of thing. That's all going to stay within our community, and that's supplied by the U of C. It's funded through them and will remain in our community. The room itself and the renovations to the room, and I hate to put this, but it's you know, an AHS budgeted ticket item, and something that I've learned over the many years working with the foundation, that, you know, anything that we do is always threefold the cost of what we could do it on our own. But that being said, that is where the $300,000 to $350,000 comes in. And until the design planning comes in and takes a look at that space and says, what do we need to do to it to get it in the next shape, we won't have a firm cost on what that is. But I'm not anticipating it to be over the $350,000, but I'm going to leave that in Ken's hands. And the other third portion of it is the educational piece, which of course is coming through. Sorry, the U of C is supplying the equipment. AHS is supplying us with the materials, like the supplies for the lab. They'll also be supplying us with the people to operate the lab, to clean it up, to, you know, that type of thing. So that'll all be done through AHS. So the foundation and the community is literally just spending the money on the renovation portion of that room to put it into the eSIM lab.
All right. Thanks.
I would just add, I think the pause was just, you know, trying to be sensitive to answering that question. Like, I think that every community has many needs. I think one of the needs that I think has evolved in the healthcare space is how to retain and recruit to rural areas. And I think there's a concerted effort to make this happen. I think this is a unique opportunity because of the grant that the University of Calgary has to help to fund the equipment in this space. There's no question, I think, in an ideal world, that in my position as the medical director for the provincial program, that I would love to see, you know, government fund facilities like this all over the province. The problem is I think you and I both know that's probably not going to happen. So, we have a unique ability to work with certain communities that are excited about, doing this to build that kind of, that a bit of, as Kara talked about, building that kind of education hub, simulation hub, being that community that supports the area they're in. And I think that's why we've seen certain groups kind of jump at it. I think that both Sundre and Wainwright were also communities that jumped at that and worked with those local health authorities to make this happen. And I think this is an opportunity for Drayton Valley. I think we could tell government that we think this is the way to do it, to build these little hubs across the province. But certainly anywhere, even in some of our urban environments, the development of these spaces has really been, the provincial program who can help with the operations of the facility, work with some type of donor, in this case, a grant from the University of Calgary, and then working with local leadership to build a facility. This is no different, to be honest with you, than work we've recently done with the Sturgeon Hospital to build a simulation lab there. And to be frank, it's a bit of a partnership we're trying to work on with the UAH hospital in Edmonton to build a facility there. So, for our program, our education program, to be able to expand and grow and fill these needs, I would agree that I think ideally it would come from a central source, but I've been doing this for 20 years and just realized that if we don't take some of this onto ourselves, these kind of projects, unfortunately, will fall by the wayside.
Yeah, I was on the Crossroads Health Board, and there was lobbying done then, but we've slowly seen things slip away. So I agree with you there that these things do fall by the wayside. All right, if there's no more questions, thanks for your presentation. You guys can take the rest of the day off.
Now just go to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, can I get that in writing, Your Worship?
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you again.
Have a great day.
Well, what we could do is, if there's a letter of support that you guys think would be effective, we'd appreciate any input on what you would like to see in the letter. We can write a letter saying we support you, but it might be more effective if we know what you think would be more effective as far as the contents of the letter. So we can deal with that, and I don't think there's a problem with getting support from this council. It's just getting the details of what you'd like to see. All right? Thank you. So if council wishes, they can put this, well, no, I guess you could just put a motion forward to draft up a letter of support, the contents of which we can fill in later. If you wish, you guys. Go ahead, Donna.
I move to work with that board to write a letter of support.
For their initiative, okay.
For what?
For their initiative.
For their initiative.
Discussion, all those in favor? Carried unanimous. All right, so Colin, you'll have to reach out to them and get the details of what you'd like to see. Kara?
Thank you, Reeve. They were also asking for a member on their board too as well. Their AGM was coming up. I made a note, it's June 18th. Do you want to add it? I can make a motion to add it under 12C for discussion. I move to add the Drayton Valley Community Health Foundation's request for a council representation on their board under 12C.
All those in favor? Okay, that's carried unanimous.
The other issue, our HR, our CAO has, hiring firm has reached out. He needs to meet with us once again this morning. He's available until 2:30 today. So my recommendation is we put it on the agenda and then move to go into close.
Yeah, so it's still on the agenda. So a motion to go and close then? Go ahead, Kara.
My suggestion is to put it on the agenda because we've already had a motion to accept that one, so it's cleared off the books.
Sure, either way works.
So I move to put
CAO recruitment?
CAO recruitment in closed session, FOIP section 19 to the agenda now.
Discussion, all those in favor? All right, so now we need a motion to go in closed. Anthony,
I move that we go in closed for personnel for contract, CAO contract, FOIP section 19.
discussion, all those in favor? Carried unanimous. All right. So a motion to, well, I'll just reconvene the meeting here. Where did we leave off? Everybody's giving me heck today. Can you hear me now? Do I need to speak more clearly? We're good? All right. So, I think we were on 6D. Oh. Oh, yes. Yeah, Cody did. Then we took the 5-minute break. Okay, so what's the motion that came out of enclosed? Cody?
I move to receive the CAO discussion for information.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. All right, we're late for public input here. So it's past 11 o'clock, but this is an opportunity for the public to bring forward any suggestions or ideas for council, as well as hopefully bringing a solution with those concerns. Be respectful of council and staff, and the floor is open. Just direct your questions through the chair. Anybody in the gallery that has something to add? Yeah, come forward. You know the routine. And if there's anybody online, we'll get to you right after this physical presentation.
Good morning, Reeve Gayon and councillors. My name is Rod Mucka. I am a local ratepayer and a resident of Hilltop Acres. The topic of discussion today that I would like to bring up has to do with the water study that was initiated, or I guess the early roots of it started late September. In January of 2024, the CAO was actioned to issue an RFQ for contractors to provide a water study. I've seen the surveyors in our area on my property as well as neighboring properties, and now I'm saying or asking when we can anticipate some type of, let's say, progress, whether it be a report of what's going to happen, suggested remediations in the area, and what action will be taken to deal with this. Is anybody here able to comment on that?
Well, not so much a comment, but I'm gonna go to Colin to see where we're at with the report there. I know there's been some work because there's been discussion on municipal reserves and those types of things and what we can and can't do. But Colin, have we got an update on that water study, or?
So yes, as mentioned, the work has been undertaken on that. I would have to follow up with the Public Works Department as to an actual firm date on when we're expecting to present that to council there. But I can follow up here over the next little bit here and get an update to council.
Okay, thank you for the answer. I would encourage all parties, the county officials and the administration and your Public Works Department to keep on it. Because best I can tell, I don't think we've had an accumulated rainfall of half an inch or 12 millimeters yet this year. And yet, county tanker trucks are coming into our area and pumping water out of ditches to prevent outflow into other people's properties. If we get any kind of rain condition, any significant rain, like maybe even next week where forecast says possibly 30 millimeters, we're probably going to see high water levels. If you get rain conditions on a weekend when the county personnel aren't available, who's to tell what could happen? So we know we have a problem there. Let's get it remediated. You know, I'm not sure what the total solutions are going to be, but that's what the purpose of this report, this engineering study, and decisions that need to be made before, let's say, some other damage occurs. Also, we're going to lose our opportunity, our season where you can go in and do construction work. So,
Where you're coming from as a farmer and as a person who's been in politics, you only got a small window of opportunity in the summertime to get things done.
yeah, so if possible, please at least let the community know what you're looking at and when action can be anticipated.
Okay. I appreciate you keeping us on our toes.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Okay, no problem.
Have a good day.
Is there anybody online that has any input for us? These are all staff, are they? Right. Anybody online that has any input for council? There is no way that people can actually report whether they can hear us or not online. Sorry, Tina? Right. Oh, I see, okay. All right, that's good, actually. It's nice that people listen to us. All right, if there's no other public concerns out there, we'll get back to Brazeau County business, and we'll end the public input session. All right, so I think this is about the third time. The Hamlet of Cynthia, discussions on privately owned urban reserve zoning options. And whenever you're ready, Kathleen, just take it away.
Perfect. Good morning, Raven Council. I am bringing back some information about the Hamlet of Cynthia. Just reminder that this came about in November 2023. There was some discussion about urban reserve parcels. And looking at the area structure plan that's currently in place, that was put in place in 1993 for the Hamlet of Cynthia, and what those future plans were for those urban reserve lots. During that research that I did in November 2023, 30 of the urban reserve lots are privately owned. So council directed administration to communicate with Cynthia residents regarding the current land use and suggested changes to zoning and to look into working with interested investors. So that was the motion that came out. Administration reached out to landowners who currently own urban reserve land in Cynthia to discuss the proposed future land use of their property within the hamlet. So basically a letter went out that stated your land is urban reserve and explained what that was, and then what the future land use was within the current area structure plan for the Hamlet of Cynthia, and then provided what that meant. So we provided since it was done in 1993, we provided what that meant in our current land use bylaw. Perfect example being, it discusses heavy industrial. We don't have a heavy industrial. It's equivalent to our rural industrial. And then we provided them.
Comfortable here myself because I've got a few lots in Cynthia, and so I don't want to be making a decision on this. And it doesn't matter to me which way you guys go. So Anthony, can you take the chair?
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So we provided them with that section of the land use bylaw that corresponded to their lot and a map showing them where their lot was within Cynthia, since not everybody actually was living within the hamlet, just to provide as much information as we could. So that, like I mentioned, there's 30 privately owned urban reserve parcels, and we received information back on 17 of those. Of those 17, 12 confirmed that the future plans align with what the current area structure plan has planned, and that zoning. 5 of the parcels that we received information back from didn't align. So one area in particular is the proposed manufactured home park. There's an area set aside for a manufactured home park, and the individual who owns that, that wasn't their plan for that land. Then in addition, what we did is we looked at the imagery and we saw that there are 13 privately owned parcels that didn't respond, 11 of them having future residential zoning, And 4 of those already have development of residential that we can see within the imagery and within our information from the assessors and that type of thing. So with that, our recommended next step is based on the review of imagery and the information from landowners, that we start the process by rezoning the parcels that align with the current area structure plan through the land use bylaw amendment process. So rezoning it from urban reserve to the selected zoning. I can't say one because there's about 4 or 5 different zones that it would be. So there's some commercial lots, some light industrial lots, some rural industrial lots, and some hamlet residential lots. So we would see that shift. And this would include the 12 confirmed properties, and then those 4 already showing residential development to align with what's already on there. And this would leave 14 privately owned reserve lots within the hamlet of Cynthia that would still need some work with those landowners and potentially work with the area structure plan to continue to change things and move towards not having urban reserve privately held lands within the hamlet of Cynthia. But that first step is taking those ones that align or are already developed and making the zones align with the area structure plan and with the already present development. If there's any questions on that, I am happy to take them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Go ahead.
So the 4 parcels that already have residential development, they were obviously allowed by the MPC because those were only supposed to be parks, correct? For the municipal, or for the urban reserve zone.
So through the chair to Councillor Gunderson, I didn't pull the land files for those specific ones to see whether they were developed prior to Brazeau County becoming a county, if they were done in like the 1960s, that kind of thing, under a different zoning. I just know that they are there, and I wasn't able to clearly find the reason as to the development and the zoning of urban reserve. So I figured since they're there and developed, remove that red tape for them and be able to have, and if they were interested in selling, it would align with if they needed compliance.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I would suggest that we get administration to bring us back a map of all the lots that are in this report and how they're zoned, and what you would suggest based on their use or the residents' replies, that we've got from them in this report. Come back with their suggested rezoning of these lots so that council gets a clearer picture of a map. Like, to visualize without a map for me is harder. So I think it'd be nice to see the map and show us what is and what is proposed based on their requests. At least that's what I would like to see us do, and then we can better evaluate where we're going from there. But we need a motion if that's what we want to do, so someone needs to consider that as a motion.
That's mine.
So Glenn, you're making a motion to direct administration to bring back a report, further report that indicates the wishes of the landowners of these 30-some lots, and also then brings a recommendation from administration.
I liked yours. I move to direct administration to bring back a further report on the wishes of the landowner from the 30 people and recommendations, and with a map.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that motion? Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Let Bart, call Bart. I think we'll wait for the 2 members of council to come back.
And Donia.
Yeah, and, well, Donia may be speaking online.
Okay.
Pardon me? They're here. Okay, Bart, we're on page 78.
I said I had property. I don't know if that's a conflict or a monetary. It's a monetary one? Pecuniary? Yeah, so by changing the zoning, I could lose or I could. Yeah, potential pecuniary interest, all right. All right, page 78. Shelter belt policy. This must have come from the Ag Service Board. Danya, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Were you coming to the council chambers or are you doing it offline today?
I'm online today.
Okay. Carry on then.
Okay, on page 78 of your agenda, we have AG 19, shelter belt policy. It was reviewed by administration with changes presented to the ASB, and the ASB did motion to recommend the changes to council. So those changes, as you'll see on page 80, are to keep the policy current. As you can see, the old policy referred to the PFRA, which is no longer in existence, and it just updates the policy to give administration guidelines on how to assist landowners in regards to shelter belts. So I can take any questions if there are any.
The only question I have, and I've raised this before when I was on the Ag Service Board, is there was other counties that had quite an incentive for shelter belts, which I support, but you had to have them at least 100 feet from the right-of-way of the road because, as you know, shelter belts collect snow, and when you have the shelter belt right on the edge of the property line, that snow has an impact on the roadways. And so their policy, and it worked out really good because you can see the finalized results after, you know, decades of trees growing 100 feet away, the snow all piles up in the farmers' fields rather than in the ditch and on the road. And so I don't know if you guys looked at that at the Ag Service Board about the placement of shelter belts, but I think it's something that you need to have some discussion on because I think that's a good policy, planting shelter belts in about 100 or 150 feet, and then all the snow collects on your farmland. There's places that I used to cross-country ski, and I could ski right to the top of the old farmhouses because the trees all around the farmhouses collected the snow from 20 miles away and would all pile right in the yard. So they are effective. Anthony?
Item D basically says 12 meters, but that's only about 30-some feet. So maybe if you're looking at wanting to have it a little greater, maybe we need to amend that part of the motion or that policy.
Well, it seems to be effective in where I've been in the past, so that's something that the Ag Service Board could reconsider if they want. Because it actually can be a detriment to the roads, especially when it's sporadic. You have a half a mile of shelter belt, then nothing, and you've got ice, and then you got shelter belts, so you got packed snow again. And so it can be a risk for vehicles as well. You guys all notice that in the springtime, to see the roads where the sun gets at them, the roads dry off. Where there's trees, there's an ice patch. Dallas.
Thank you, Reeve. It's just the question of setback comes full circle when you consider how much land you're going to dedicate to non-agricultural, to non-arable land. So if your setback is from 13 meters, let's say we go to 50 meters, you're dedicating this land that can't be used for pasture because...
No, it can be. In fact, in this particular case, the grain farmers are still farming from the shelter belt to the road. They're still farming that. You're not, the shelter belt is only 12 feet or so wide. And then after that, it's
yeah, just so long as you're taking that into consideration. Not everybody's going to do that. There's not a lot of grain growing up in this country. We're mostly cattle country, and then that has to be fenced off, otherwise the cattle will completely destroy those trees. So we'll just keep that in consideration. That's all.
So it was no.
No.
You guys decide that. I've seen it effective and seen how it works. But yeah, you do have to either put electric fence up or something to protect your shelter belts. Go ahead, Anthony, or, oh, Glenn, go ahead.
I move the council approve the changes to the AG-19 shelter belt policy.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous? So you did agree with me, that's great. All right, how's our time doing? Lee, you're up next.
Good morning, Council and Reeve. So page 82, proclamation for Seniors Week. Administration received a request from the Ministry of Seniors, Community and Social Services to proclaim June 3rd to the 9th, 2024 as Seniors Week. See an attachment there on 1. The designation of the first week of June as Seniors Week has been practiced by the province since 1986. Should Council agree to lend support for the campaign, a proclamation, attachment 2 is included for your consideration.
Well, what would you councillors like to consider here? Money for seniors? Money for seniors. Oh, I like that one. All right. Okay, absolutely no control of this meeting whatsoever. Go ahead, Glenn.
On the analysis of recommended action, it just says proclaim October 24th, 2022 as World Polio Day. I almost said that, but I'm going to say I move the council proclaim June 3rd to 9th, 2024 as Seniors Week in Brazeau County.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Yeah, well, usually Tina prepares that and I sign off on it. All right, reconciliation, Colin?
Thank you. Yes, on page 86 of your agenda, you will find the bank reconciliation as of April 30th, 2024. If there's any questions from council, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would request the council receives for information.
Donna?
I move to accept the bank reconciliation for information.
Discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous. Okay, is there anything that I've missed off of the additions?
Yes, so we do have 12 on the additions package. ACCPA conference report provided by Councillor Brooks. A new renewal system sponsored by Councillor Wiltsey. And then we also have the item added today later on, the Drayton Valley request for board member due to the delegation at 10 o'clock.
Was that item C, general matters? Okay, so general matters, the conference, thanks for your report, Cody. And the one thing I noticed on that conference is that Brazeau County has come a long, long ways in support of crime prevention, of what we've done, what we've adopted. The one thing that I took, probably the most important message I got, was the school resource officers and the support needed for them. Because the earlier, and they're talking about getting in grades 6, 7, and 8. The earlier you can get in there, the better off the community is on the long run. And even they said that it's, you know, a very cost-effective program. But we're supporting administrative support, we're supporting RCMP, we're supporting administration, and we've come a long ways that a lot of other communities haven't gone down that same path yet. Glenn, do you want to make some comments?
So there's a homeless encampment just a stone throws away from here. It's filthy in that bush. So was there any recommendations that came out of the conference?
They've all got them, Glenn, is all I can say. All communities have got them. Cody, go ahead.
Yeah, so there were two sessions going on at the same time that kind of had to deal with the same, had to deal with some, they had, one was specifically for homelessness, and the other one, it was involved. I did note in my report, and I don't remember under which session it was, wasn't that one, but, oh, here it is. Actually, session 3 had some ideas in it. One of the, it's kind of an, I don't want to say it's an urban problem because it affects us all, but you know, clearly. But one thing that they were trying in some municipalities was that they were, it's not zoning, but they were essentially designating certain areas as this place can be an encampment. And so, so the idea there was that, you know, they could keep them from, you know, if they tear down an encampment, you know, you can go here and you can do it there. So you can keep them away from, you know, schools or fire hazards and that sort of thing. Another thing was that because if you can regulate where, you can regulate what, right? Like, so you can, they can kind of regulate what goes in and out a little bit. You know, the, you know, if you set the area up right, and I say set up, but how do I put it? When you regulate it, it's easier for you to regulate it, I guess is what I'm getting at. So because they had designated a certain spot, the police services of these municipalities were able to, you know, monitor the, not entrances, but, you know, knew where everything was essentially. So they could regulate, you know, drugs coming in and out. They could provide housing services. They could provide social services, that sort of thing. So that was, in the session I was in, that was all that I was really able to get out of it. I don't know that that really translates well to Brazeau County. I mean, we got lots of land, but, you know, they need to be close to services, right? Like, they can't be, we can't put them out in the middle of, you know, we can't put them down by the river, that sort of thing. So, yeah. So, like I said, I don't want to say it's a town issue, but if anybody was going to do that, something like that, they would have to be from the urban municipality. But if you look at my report, there's a little more in there, I guess.
It's a really sensitive area, and the other thing that I can add to the reports there is that we've got a good rapport with our RCMP, and they said that's critical. We heard from, I shouldn't say the two major urban centers, but I just said that, and they have no relationship with their urban counterparts, and they said it was quite disturbing. They're kind of just left on their own, Edmonton Police Services, to look after things without necessarily support from the councils. So that's just one more thing that we've got a good rapport with the RCMP on that regards. I explained what we did, and can't remember if somebody from council or not, but they also said that as the support for homelessness disappears, so do the homeless. So, Cody.
Yeah, just one more thing I wanted to add. It is in my report, but that while there was certainly some value for elected officials to be there was a lot there that would have been useful for, you know, people like RCMP, people like, you know, our CPOs, that sort of thing. So in the future, I think it would be beneficial for us to send somebody administratively. I mean, like, you know, the RCMP is going, I'm sure they know about the crime prevention conference and that sort of thing. There were some, I did see some, am I going to say Fish and Wildlife officers? Who were they? So I saw some of them in uniform. There was conservation, that's the word I was looking for. So, you know, I think these agencies do know about it, but from our own, you know, from our municipality, I think we could send some CPOs in the future. I mean, I think this conference happens once a year, so maybe keep it in mind for next year.
Okay, all right, good discussion. Motion to receive the reports for information. Donna?
I move to receive Cody's reports for information.
Okay, we'll move on. Discussion, all those in favor? Donna, you want to talk about the renewal system?
Oh. Well, I was asked by a business owner that had 3 other business owners to look into bringing in foreign workers. Drayton Valley has some kind of a system, and so Colin looked into it, and I'm hoping he will speak on it because I know nothing.
Has anybody else, because I received calls from business owners as well, wanting to try to get foreign workers in here? And there is a process that's available that I think we can tag on to for supporting that initiative, if you guys agree with that idea. Colin?
Yes, thank you. So just to council, to provide a little bit of background into it. So yes, the town of Drayton Valley currently is designated as an accepted community. They have a community designation for this. And so this falls under the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program. And how it works are communities can apply to be a designated community on their own, or they can partner up with another community if they share that economic region. So in this case, the Brazeau County could partner up with the town of Drayton Valley, or they could express interest in becoming a designated community all into their own. And just a little bit of background into it. So a community puts in an application to get that designation, and then works with employers in the area to identify jobs that are non-seasonal, 12 months a year. And once they identify those jobs that would be applicable, they receive applications from foreign workers who are looking to come in. And so once they kind of identify an individual with a job, they then put forward an endorsement, the community does, and then the foreign worker uses that endorsement to go forward looking for permanent residency. And so kind of matching it up that way, and then they use that endorsement letter. They still have to go through all the checks and balances that you normally would have to, but just having that endorsement letter from the community and with a job already lined up, I think helps fast track them through that process there. So as mentioned, there are kind of 2 ways to go about doing it. The county could see if there's possibility of partnering up with the town, or could look at the requirements to handle in-house.
Okay, so this is a request from businesses that want some help so that maybe the county can help to address this. I'm not sure what kind of a motion we need, but it would be some sort of, if you can think of a motion that we require,
Yeah.
Colin?
And I guess it would be kind of looking on the administration side of things on how council would like to proceed on this. We could certainly have a motion for administration to bring back information on the application process to become a community, a designated community, or and I don't know whether this would be best served on a council joint meeting agenda, or council could choose to explore the possibility of partnering with the town of Drayton Valley in the program. They currently already have that designation, and so it's something that we could look to partner with them, or if that appetite wasn't there, then what it would take to become a designated community all on Brazeau County's own.
Certainly a topic for discussion with the town, but I think we can get the ball maybe moving forward, that we start looking at what's the process for us to become a designated community. We've already got quite a, ourselves. With it might, I think the message I got is that by doing it with the town, it gives you a little more impact. And all it is a designation saying that we support foreign workers in our community. I don't know if we have to do it ourselves. I think it's just the fact that they have to be in a community that has that designation, right? So whatever way it is, I would defer to Colin to set up what we need to do. Colin.
Yeah, and so through that, yes, administration can come back with an update report to council on those next steps into putting in that application. And then, as mentioned by the Reeve, potentially that might be a topic to be addressed at a joint meeting there to see if there's any interest in going that way. But we can come back from our side with what it would entail on our end.
Okay, so just a motion then to have administration draft up a document on next steps for community designation. Go ahead, Donna.
So would we have, before we do that, would we have to decide if we want to do it ourselves or partner with Drayton Valley?
I think in this particular case, partnering would be better, just because we don't have to have two processes. Some businesses have people that will go to Drayton Valley and some people will go to the county. I think one-stop shopping is a lot better for businesses. They can just go to, one entity and say, you're just supporting the opportunity. So having two separate organizations in one community, I don't
Okay.
think is effective.
Okay.
Pardon me? Tom?
Okay, I'll make a motion that administration looks into partnering with Drayton Valley for a designated
A designated community.
community process.
Discussion. All those in favor? Those opposed? Anthony and Cody, you voted in favor? Okay. Anyway, this is all in an effort to try to help our businesses. Just one opposed, Anthony, yeah. Okay, that was the renewal system, Donna? Brazeau Foundation, anything you want to highlight, Cody?
Nothing necessarily that I need to highlight, but the report is attached in the additions. Just a 3/4 pager.
And your recreation?
Recreation
Report?
board, same thing, yep.
Oh, yes, you're right. That's because I didn't write it down. And we're going to have motions for each one of these reports as well. So like the Brazeau Foundation report, we missed that one. Motion to receive Cody's report for information. What's that? Did we actually vote on that one? Okay.
Instead of oral. That's all. So when we accept them all, we'll accept those.
Okay. Recreation Board, anything you need to highlight?
Nope. Could read it out if you would, but.
Right, yeah, well, I was gonna get back to that. I just wanted to make sure I cleared up the Cody reports. All right, so see the rep, who's interested in sitting on that, or do we have a person that we wanna put on there? So we need a motion then to defer discussion on this until we hear back from the time commitment for this group. Anthony and then Kara.
I think we should, yeah, I would prefer to make a motion that we defer any decision on appointments until we hear back from, through Tina, from the group to see what their commitment is.
Kara, did you, oh, your light was on. Same thing. All right, so Anthony has a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor? That's carried unanimous. Okay, we're back to the rest of our reports. We'll go back to 13. There's no correspondence. 14. Get ready. Dallas, you got the first couple?
Do I? So the first one is probably, sorry, where I'm at MPC. We just had an MPC meeting last week. MPC is moving right along. We still haven't heard back from our land and property rights tribunal. We haven't heard that decision back yet. Hopefully that will come quickly. And Brenton and District FCSS, no report, no meeting.
Okay, Donna, you're up for the next 4.
West Central Airshed, I missed the meeting because of our CAO review. Eleanor Pickup, I missed that meeting because of personal matter. The RMA Wildfire Group is, our first meeting is this Friday. Early childhood development, 43 children from town, 40 from the county, 83 on the wait list. We're looking to do a 50-50 online to raise money for the pour and play playground.
Is there any funds from tire recycling there, Kara? There used to be for the pour in place. Okay. They used to support those, so that means there's no money coming out of your project, so definitely I would check on them first. I've still seen some
That's
being put in recently.
Tire board, right?
Well, it's not the tire board anymore, it's, what's it called now? It includes tire recycling, but it's also paint, phones, you know, the whole network of recyclable items.
Okay.
But it's definitely something they always supported, and I thought I just heard of a pour in place getting put in that was funded by them, so.
Oh, nice. I will look into that. We've learned about dark money in the childcare business.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that there are companies that buy housing and make daycares, and they get grants from the government and don't take care of the kids. Like they're just minimal, and these are the places where you hear of, you know, kids choking and other things they're just not taken care of. And they have made $3 trillion
Wow.
in the UK. Yeah, with this dark money, it's really disturbing, is right, yeah. So on May 10th, they had a Mother's Day tea, and they took in donations for baskets for a fundraiser, again for the pour and play. And there's a family barbecue and bannock making June 14th at EPBR. And we need to make a policy. We need to create that for emergency evacuation. The evacuation with the fire, the kids weren't in daycare at that time of night, but if it happened during the day, we don't have a policy for that, so it's in the making.
Is that it? And you carrying on with, oh no, it's Cody for the next 2 again. Okay, thank you, Cody. Len?
We had a meeting May 16th, 2024. Prior to the meeting, we had a little luncheon for all the volunteers because there wasn't a volunteers appreciation supper normally that you'd have at the FCSS. One of the ladies brought in some chamber dollars, and I took 20 decks of the Brazeau County playing cards to hand out to volunteers. We had a presentation from Dr. Margaret Law, and she gave us her organizational review. I thought she was just coming to the library to give us an idea how it should look, but she really went into the finances and the governance. So, you know, little things like we've been buying books from Amazon and then trying to process them in-house. So that means we got to put plastic on the outsides and stamp them and then enter them into the book system. Whereas YRL does that for you and they do a better job. So that was one of her recommendations. Another one was in accounting, we consider the money that comes from YRL. We've been putting that into we count that as revenue. and she said it's not. She described how it's actually, because it's taken from the town and it comes back, it's not. So it's gonna straighten up our accounting practices a bit. One of the things she highlighted with the county, I guess, and I talked to Lee about it this morning, the agreement that she looked at doesn't meet the conditions for an intermunicipal library agreement as determined by the Library Act. And it's over my head, so that's why I said Lee's gonna have to look into it and maybe work with Dr. Margaret a little bit to see why it doesn't. She said the wording needs to be cleaned up to make it a funding agreement. Right now, it's, because it's an intermunicipal, it's worded that way. That's what's caused the confusion of why we need to have a $130,000 a year librarian. If we can get rid of that, call it a funding agreement, it takes the Brazeau County population out of the mix, and we can go with a library manager, which saves us a lot of money. So that was one of the benefits to it. Also, the county MOA agreement specifies the number of days and hours the library is to be open. And she said that the county cannot actually tell the library what times they are to be open. We can make a condition on funding, but otherwise we're really getting into the weeds on that. The board, after that presentation, the board moved to budget $4,500 in next year's budget for bathroom renovation. We don't have a washroom at the library. We share it with the town, and when the town closes, they cuts off our access to the washroom. The town has agreed to give us some of that room and reconfigure the washroom, and they're willing to pay for half of that. So it's a $9,000 renovate, and the rest of the board really didn't want to do it. And I was like, this seems like a pretty cheap deal, $4,500, so I motioned for that to go through. Might not need it because the CETC, they're looking for somebody to move in. So they've got some space there, and they've kind of got our library manager over there to look the spot over. It'd give us no more room, but they claim it was only going to cost us power and gas. There's no rent, so we got to flesh this out a little bit more. We've asked her to go back.
You have to flush out the bathroom?
Basically, we've got to figure it out. But it would save us from having to repaint, which would cost $19,000, in this bathroom, which costs $4,500, and then we need to do some flooring work in the manager's office. So if we could just move to the CETC, it would eliminate all those costs. But we're still not sure that that's an option. But it sounds like the town might give us a little leeway on that. I had a complaint from a ratepayer earlier on. She lost her library card, and when she went, they told her it was $30 to replace it. And she just didn't have that kind of money. And then they said, well, you could use your phone. It's scanned on the phone, or her driver's license, sorry. So she used her driver's license a few more times, forgot that one day, and she just couldn't get a book, and she was really mad at me. So I went to go pay that, and I went to the front desk, and I looked, and I couldn't see how much is it? She said $30. I said, I'd like to pay the $30 to get this lady a new card. And they said, it's only $3. So yeah, I've asked them to just put up a little page that shows the rates for lost cards, or for renting DVDs, or getting new library cards. Because it was really, the staff had to look on their computers to find the numbers. So it's like, well, if you just posted it, everybody would know, and it would make it a little clearer on what was available. But that's my report.
Thank you. Anthony?
With the Ag Service Board, we've been going through our policies. As you guys are seeing, we brought one here today again as we reviewed them. We also wrote a letter to the minister thanking him for his change, the agriculture minister, to the change they made to the MELT program, which is for driver's licenses, training requirement for farming peoples. We appreciated that they made adjustments there to help support our farmers. We also discussed a possible fee that might be suggested for the support trailer that we've created for firefighting. And I believe the fee, I'm going by memory here now, I didn't bring the written stuff there, but I think it was $30 a day and up to 7-day use at one time. And $50 or $100 damage deposit, but I can't remember which one it was. But 50, okay, thank you. And also, just looking here at my notes. Okay, yeah, I think that pretty much covers what I can remember here from the meeting. Then for the next group, then, for Eagle Point, there is no meeting, was no meeting. Same with Drayton Valley FCSS. Pembina Synergy meeting is coming up later this month, and no meeting for the other one. Mark?
Kara?
There has been no meeting on the two. However, I just got back. I attended the North American Drought Monitoring Forum through my role at RMA. So I'll just pass them down to Dallas. And Anthony, you guys probably can use them at the Ag Service Board. It's just some information from the federal government on direct, they're looking for direct reporting from farmers on moisture situation directly on their farm, and it will go in directly into how they create funding programs in the future. So the QR codes are there. I just gave it to Dallas. I would highly recommend it. This is the type of information that they're using when they deal with drought maps and stuff. When they get the more information they get directly, and it also has to do with a lot of how the funding is going to be working. So I brought that information. I thought of you guys at the Ag Service Board, so I brought it back for you.
Yeah, because even in the municipality, there's different weather systems, especially, I don't know if it's ours or not, but I have such a different weather pattern from the east side of the river to the west side in a very short area. Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, so we are having an issue. RMA has been advocating really hard with the federal government to change the way some of the program and the fundings, and it's based solely on the way they map. So they're mapping areas based on municipality boundaries. So you just nailed it on the head. So we have, especially in the east, they're experiencing far more drought. But some of the municipalities, they're huge, split them in half. So take Wood Buffalo, for instance. The northern half is getting moisture, but the southern part is not. But they would be considered not covered under the program because they look at the municipal boundaries. So this is some of the programming and the reporting that they're looking for. So don't put your tinfoil hats on just yet. It's actually, they went through the program and how they're, the information that they need is going to be really valuable forming those grant going forward. So
I'll send in 100 reports.
honestly, that they want as much information on the local level, the better.
Anthony?
Or could we have that information passed to administration and maybe they could put it on their next Ag Service Board agenda?
Are these two different things?
Yeah, just information. The other interesting thing, this one, I know we do a lot of information in Canada. This one was interesting because it was actually the U.S. They had experts from the U.S. speaking as well as Mexico. And the drought patterns. The mapping was quite interesting. What I liked about this conference, and it may be something I'll bring to the Ag Service Board, they hold it every 2 years and it's in different areas. Usually it's held in Alberta, to be honest with you. They just held it in BC this year. I'm not sure why, but that's where it was. It's every 2 years. Very factual orientated. You're dealing with professors and research information, but they presented it in a way that I don't have a science degree. But I understood what they were talking about, and there was just a lot of conversation. So it's great that the rain's falling. The biggest, I think, issue that we're going to be facing in North America is the snowpacks. Everybody talks about the rain. It's great. We've had lots of moisture. That's the problem is our snowpacks in our mountains, and they are at the lowest level since records have been kept, and that's actually quite scary. So. And they are not, actually, it was quite interesting. You would think climate change, the swear words. The U.S. doesn't even use, how do they use it? Climate shifting, nobody used the words climate change there, which was actually quite interesting. I picked up on it, the language that they were speaking of. And they have no political ties, no nothing. It was research and professors and factual data. I was mind blown actually from the information.
Where was that at, Kara?
It was in Victoria, but they had professors and researchers. Some of them, the U.S. is private researchers, some tied to the government, but they came from all over Mexico, U.S. and Canada to speak. And like I said, I was blown away with the information. So. It was also held in a federal building for Canadian Natural Resources, so I actually, in between the breaks, I could go wander in the research labs and see a bunch of information too. Forestry and obviously oceans was the big focus of that center that I was in, but they allowed us to wander around the building and do
Is
some.
there an online, like, you know, how sometimes conferences have an online?
The back stuff, I haven't seen anything yet, but I can dig into it because actually RMA is interested to see if we can get some of the presentations and stuff too as well. So the amount of information is, like, it was mind-blowing, so
Right.
it was really good.
All right, for me, we've had no meetings. North Saskatchewan one is coming up, but we have had no meetings since council. Alice, Warburg, and North Saskatchewan, we've got one coming up. Technology and innovation, we haven't had one, except I understand that Glenn and Brian had a pre-discussion with Bob Paul, or Paul Bob. Two first names, I always get them mixed up. Glenn, do you want to comment on that? I wasn't available for that one.
Yeah, it was with Bob Paul, so we were just telling him that the county had set aside some money for him, $10,000, to put together a program and then bring it to the county. So now the next step is finding a date that works for everybody. We've put out a feeler. Let me look what's up. June 20th. But if June 20th doesn't work, that next week is really open for everybody, it looks like. But I'm not sure if everybody goes away on holidays or what happens in June the 20th. But well, it could either be the 24th to the 28th, if that works for, or any of those dates from the 24th to the 28th. Right now, it's slotted in for June the 20th, but it doesn't have to be June the 20th. That's E5 Solutions. And that would be something that we'd like to have staff come in as well for the presentation, right? So, and even advertise that. So we'd have to give Colin enough time to put this in the paper. The D5's going to be here to give a presentation, and then make that decision on where we want to have this presentation. Is it here, or is it someplace in a bigger venue? So, but I think you're working with Brian a little bit on that. Okay. So it's
Yeah, I've already got it in my calendar, so.
You figured June the 20th is?
Yeah.
As long as everybody's here, I'm fine with it.
Well, the everybody is Kara and Glenn, but anybody else is invited, you're saying?
Well, no, the whole idea is to have lots of people come,
Okay.
and so.
King already sent that out to all of us as a hold a date.
Great. Okay, anything else, Glenn? Donna?
I have another little report. I went on a drive with our CPO. Not a drive, I went on his work day. To see, well, just to experience what he
agenda.
did.
You have to put it on the agenda if you want to talk about it.
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Everybody's shaking their head no.
Thanks for wasting his time, Donna. Just kidding. Anthony?
Ready to make a motion?
Sure.
Move to receive the council reports for information.
Discussion, all those in favor? That's carried unanimous. I guess we'll take a break for dinner. What's for dinner, Stu? Everybody hear me now? Sounds like a telephone commercial. All right, invitation to council to attend and Reeve to bring greetings. We need a motion. If you want me to speak there. Kara?
I move to authorize the Reeve and/or designate to speak on behalf of council at the ALS Walk June 1st at the West Valley Lions Park.
Discussion, all those in favor? Okay. For council to attend and for me to bring greetings to the seniors' tea. That'll be fun. Donna?
I move that council and Reeve
Are authorized to
are
attend.
authorized to attend the seniors' tea, June 5th.
Discussion, all those in favor? Carried unanimous. Now, June 5th, why do I think there's a conflict there? Are we at FCM? Well, let's, now, well, Anthony, you could always make it there if I can't, right? Yes. All right, that was carried unanimous? Go ahead, Glenn.
On the seniors tee, there was a bunch of door prizes last year. Did you guys think of, maybe we should bring something to add to the door prize? It doesn't have to be much, $100. So I move to direct administration to set up a door prize for the seniors tee from Brazeau County.
Okay, that's fine, and there's probably cups and mugs, and you gotta think it's gonna be seniors that accept it, so what do they really need, you know? Maybe beach balls are still appropriate. All right.
Oh,
All right.
those playing cards would have been, playing cards would have been a big hit too.
Yeah, let administration think seniors that day. Discussion, all those in favor? Yeah, it's not necessarily the prize, it's the winning and the excitement that you won something. So you could have several first, second, and third prizes. All right, we'll leave that to administration. RPAP, conference, Wainwright. Carrie, you're on that board. Is that good enough? Glenn?
Well, how many people could go to this, or how many people were thinking? All the council, or just a couple, or what was the thoughts?
No, I was thinking one or two at the most.
One or two? Okay, I move to authorize one or two councilors and/or Reeve to attend the RHPAP Rural Community Conference, October 8th to 10th, 2024 in Wainwright, Alberta.
Okay, one of them should be Kara right off the bat. All right, discussion, all those in favor? Okay, that's carried unanimous. So, if I haven't missed anything, folks, we've got in closed session for 3 items. Somebody want to make a motion in that regard? Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
I move that we go and close for land, Hilltop Acres subdivision, FOIP section 25, personnel, FOIP section 19, and FOIP personnel CAO contract, FOIP section 19. I think we've already dealt with that one, though.
Put it on there in case there's anything else. Discussion, all those in favor? All right. We have any direction coming out of enclosed? Anthony?
Information report on Hilltop Acres.
Discussion, all those in favor? Donna?
I move to receive the personnel update for information.
Discussion, all those in favor? We need a motion to adjourn, I think, if there's nothing else, folks. Cody?
I move to adjourn.
Discussion, all those in favor? Carried unanimous. Thanks, folks.